Do you remember that classic show that was cherished by millions of people even to this day, about the man and the woman who each have 3 children and they get married to each other and suddenly find themselves in this large family where the kids fight and argue and everything ends up being okay by the end of the episode? That's right, that show was The Brady Bunch. Now, do you remember that show that somehow lasted 7 seasons? It was a really shoddy knockoff of The Brady Bunch that pretty much has no memorable episodes whatsoever? That's right, that show was Step by Step. Let's learn some more about this show. Step by Step ran for 7 seasons between September 1991 and June 1998. It was produced by Miller Boyett Productions, which, if that name sounds at all familiar, it's because they were also the people responsible for shows like Full House, Family Matters, and Perfect Strangers. If you've ever noticed that the theme songs for Step by Step, Full House, and Family Matters all sound the same, it's because they were all from the same guys. Premiering on ABC for their TGIF lineup, Step by Step consisted of 2 families, the Lamberts and the Fosters. The Lambert family had Frank, JT, Al, and Brendan. There was also a cousin named Cody, who is the comic relief of the show. In the Fosters, we had Carol, Dana, Karen, and Mark. There were also a couple of other family members that were around in the season 1, but they pretty much contributed nothing to the overall story and were written out of the show after that season. Let's meet the characters. Frank, played by Patrick Duffy of Dallas fame, is the father of the Lambert clan. He runs his own construction company and is a sports guy. JT, played by Brandon Call, is the oldest son. He's not the smartest guy, and he's the stereotypical, oh look, an attractive girl, let's make a comment, then go hit on her and get rejected guy. His character is the one who has the most issue with the blended family situation. Al, short for Alicia, is played by Christine Lakin. She's a tomboy for most of the earlier seasons, until eventually after she hit puberty, the writers started making guys attracted to her and mostly got rid of the tomboy persona. Brendan, played by Josh Byrne, is the youngest son, and honestly there's no reason for him to exist. I can't recall a single episode off the top of my head where he was an essential character. Okay, there was one episode where Carol's pregnant and he's afraid that something will happen to the baby, so he's up at like 3 in the morning putting dishes away or something so she won't have to do it herself and be stressed. I don't know, kid was a goody-goody. Other than that, I can't remember there ever being an episode that was like, oh boy, I found a used needle in the sewer. Come on, throw away one episode, best friend. Let's pretend we're doctors. Oh no, I accidentally stabbed you with the needle, and later on in the episode we find out you got hepatitis. And my dad tells me not to do that anymore because used needles are not toys, and we all learned a valuable lesson. The end. But anyway, Cody, played by Sasha Mitchell, is Frank's nephew. Though pretty dim-witted, he has a good heart and, oddly enough, tends to give most of the kids solid advice. In the Foster family, we have Carol, played by Suzanne Summers of Three's Company fame, as the mother. She runs a hair salon and puts Frank in his place, usually using sex appeal. Dana, played by Stacey Keenan, is the oldest daughter and is an intelligent, sarcastic at times feminist with a strong dislike for JT. Karen, played by Angela Watson, is an attractive, not-so-bright girl who overall is a good person. Mark, played by Christopher Castile, is the only boy in the family. He is very intelligent and makes awkward comments. In the later seasons, he becomes oddly perverse, though. I just remember him in the movie Beethoven, and this is the only scene I still remember from that movie.
You want to get your face crushed, Shrimp? Get lost.
Last one, I promise. Beethoven, bite this guy in the wiener.
Let's look at some additional characters on the show. Jason Marsden played Rich, JT's best friend. Rich's full name is Rich Halke, which is actually the name of one of the writers on the show. He originally appeared in season 3, but played a character named Doug. He wouldn't become a regular until season 5. I found it weird that at one point JT mentions that they had been best friends since they were kids, yet they don't start hanging out on the show until season 5. Bronson Pinchot as Jean-Luc Rutabaga. Sure. He comes in after Cody was gone and is kind of the new Cody. He played Carol's business partner, and this character was terrible. He left the show to star in another show, which only aired for 6 episodes before being taken off the air. The final character I want to talk about is Lily. Lily is the offspring of Frank and Carol. At the end of season 4, Carol gives birth to a little girl who they name Lily. Throughout season 5, Lily is a baby. Then in season 6, she's like 6 years old. No one else aged this rapidly, just her. What kind of Harry Potter wizardry is this? You can tell they really want to give off a Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen vibe from her, which, don't get me wrong, she was a cute kid, but she was no Michelle Tanner. After 6 seasons on ABC, CBS took the show over and added it to their CBS Block Party, an attempt to take viewership away from the popular ABC TGIF lineup. In the 7th season, CBS canceled the show after the 15th episode aired. The show was then put on hiatus until June, where they aired the remaining episodes just to fill whatever time slot they had. The show ended in June of 1998 due to declining ratings, and it never had a proper series finale. Christine Lakin and Stacey Keenan have said that the finale was supposed to be Dana and Rich having their wedding.
Yeah, so I think everybody kind of guessed that there probably wasn't going to be another season. So there was a few episodes at the end of the season where my character was going to marry her boyfriend Rich, and there was going to be a big, huge wedding.
Jason Marsden.
Yes, Jason Marsden. It was going to be at the house, and that was going to kind of be this really sweet ending of the show.
The biggest issue with the show was when Cody left. On the show, Sasha Mitchell is a goofy, fun, kind-hearted guy, but in 1995 he was arrested and charged for 2 counts of battery, 1 count of spousal abuse, and 1 count of child endangerment. He violated his probation and ended up going to jail for a short time. I won't divulge the details of the incident, but if you really want to know what reportedly happened, you can find that information online. I feel it important to note that Sasha Mitchell left the show and was not fired.
So the second to last season of our show, we go and do this. Jeff Juday came on as this character. Basically, Cody had left the show, Sasha Mitchell. He had had some personal issues.
That was probably the most dramatic thing that ever happened on the show, and that was the only thing.
Right.
Yeah. And that was, he had some personal stuff, and he had to go deal with that. And I think they were, this is back in the days of like television when they were like, oh, we had a wacky character. Now that wacky character has to leave the show.
We need another wacky character.
He did come back for 1 episode in the last season. I have read that this was a cameo, but I've also read that he was supposed to be back on the show as a regular. I do not know what story is true. The episodes are aired out of order, so Cody's disappearance is not explained until late in season 6, well after the John Luke character had already been introduced. In 1996, Brandon Call was the victim of a shooting. He noticed a car tailgating him, and after taking several turns leading to a dead end, the driver of the other car shot at him 6 times, hitting him in the arms. It appears the guy who shot him has been locked up since Christmas Eve 1997, and his parole requests for the last several years have been denied. His next possible parole hearing is set for March 2022. Now we can talk about Brendan, the youngest of Frank's kids. They seriously just got rid of this character. After season 6, he wasn't on the show anymore. So this family's kid just disappears and nobody is like, oh my god, where's Brendan? There's no search party, there's no missing persons report, there's nothing. These people are so terrible that they don't even notice their child is missing. What a bunch of ass. During the theme park the family is at is actually Six Flags Magic Mountain in California. At the end of the intro, where you see the roller coaster next to the ocean was added in post-production. If you look carefully, you can actually see the entire ocean shifting as the camera moves. Where the water is was actually the parking lot. In the original intro, when the family is walking together, Christopher Castile is not there. There's another kid with dark hair. This kid is an actor by the name of Jarrett Lennon. He was cast before the show started taping and was replaced by Christopher Castile because the producers thought that since Jarrett had dark hair, the audience would be confused on which family he belonged to. Later on in the intro, Christopher Castile is there wearing the same clothes that Jarrett was wearing. While I didn't recognize the name after looking him up, I realized that Jarrett was in one of my favorite TV shows, Freaks and Geeks. He was also the voice of Eugene on Hey Arnold. There are several references to the TV shows Dallas and Three's Company, which Patrick Duffy and Suzanne Summers were the stars of.
What do you think?
I think you look like Barbara Eden in I Dream of Jeannie.
And you look like Chrissy from Three's Company, but I never thought that in
The show is in the same universe as Family Matters, and Steve Urkel is actually in one of the season 1 episodes. And this is something new I actually just learned. Apparently this is kind of a continuation of the Family Matters episode titled Brains Over Brawn, where Steve Urkel has a jetpack and it sends him flying out of Chicago. So I guess he ends up going to Port Washington, Wisconsin. And the funny thing about that is it makes a lot of sense because the director Richard Correll was the director of that Family Matters episode and of this Step by Step episode. So that's kind of cool. Step by Step was never one of my favorite shows, honestly. I didn't find anyone really memorable besides Cody. I just binged the entire series, which was pretty much the inspiration for this video. Step by Step was one of those series that just wasn't rewatchable for me. In fact, it had been years since I'd even thought about watching it. I'm happy I did, as I didn't remember much of the plots, and so felt like it was kind of a new show. There are a few things that I found really weird though. Like how when Al gets older and more attractive to guys, she ends up getting with like 2 or 3 guys that just try to sleep with her really aggressively. I don't remember that happening to the other girls in the show. I don't know why they went that direction with her. Also, Frank had some weird fetishes. On one episode, he's dressed as a police officer and Carol is dressed as a burglar and he tackles her on the couch and this gets him excited for some reason. And on another episode, he literally grabs Garfield cat ears from the bedside table and puts them on. And this is supposed to be like the sexiest thing in the world? He was into some really weird shit. Later on in the show, Mark appears less and less. Sometimes he's in an episode for like a single scene and says a couple of lines and that's it. He also changes personalities drastically. The later episodes with him just have him in situations like hiding a porno movie in the movie case for The Little Mermaid to rent it from the video store so he can go watch it with his friends, or having some girl want to sleep with him because he did her homework. And then there's an episode where he's on the basketball team, so he went from being an awkward nerdy kid to suddenly being a basketball player? I don't know, maybe I missed something. I feel like season 6 and 7 were very hit or miss seasons. It's almost like they assumed the show was getting canceled, and so they just said F it and just wrote down random ideas. All in all, Step by Step is a classic 90s show, very much due to being part of the ABC TGIF lineup. If you have Hulu, you can watch all the episodes. I know I gave the show a hard time, but it's all in fun, and I gained a newfound appreciation for the show. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed looking back on Step by Step. Do you have a favorite episode or moment of the show? Leave it in a comment. If you like videos about retro TV shows and movies and want to see more, hit the subscribe button. And if you like this video, don't forget the like button. It gets lonely sometimes. Thank you for watching.